In this video, we're going to be exploring readability and how you can enhance your readability with something called the grocery shopping strategy. When writing, we sometimes use something called a compound subject, but what exactly is a compound subject? A compound subject occurs anytime you have two or more subjects that are collectively the subject of the sentence. Let us take a look at an example for clarity. We might say that Rick and Morty are interdimensional time travelers. Now, when we're trying to identify where the subject is, we look for the verb, in this case are, and typically everything before the verb is going to be your subject. And here we have Rick and Morty are collectively the subject. So because there's two, it makes it a compound subject. If there are only two or sometimes three simple subjects, the information is relatively easy to process. However, as the number of subjects increases, readability decreases. This is exemplified here in a simple chart where we see the fewer the subjects, the higher the readability. The more subjects you have, the less readable it is. Here we'll take a look at an example with three subjects. We might say that devil, bad bee, and rebel are words that describe Doja Cat. Now we have 1, 2, and 3 words that Doja Cat uses to describe herself in her song Paint the Town Red. In this instance, because there's three simple subjects, we could probably get away with this as the collective subject, the collective compound subject. But even in this context, there might be a little bit too much information in the subject. Let's use another example. Let's look at an example with Olivia Rodrigo. We might say driver's license, comma, vampire, comma, deja vu, comma, good for you, comma, traitor, comma, and bad idea, right? Our top 10 hits by Olivia Rodrigo. In this instance, we have 6 subjects all collectively working together. And the more we put onto the reader to hold on to information before we organize it for them, the more difficult it becomes for them to read it. This is where the grocery shopping strategy comes into play. Let's say you're walking through the grocery store, you get some healthy peaches for a snack, maybe an eggplant to add to dinner. You want breakfast, you get Captain Crunch, which of course needs milk, and then finally your Dempster's 12-grain bread, which is the bread of choice for me. And if I'm going to get the milk, I'll usually get the Silk Soy Vanilla. Check it out, it's pretty good. Now, in this context, we're able to hold on to and organize everything because we have a basket to put it in to start with. Now, imagine instead of grabbing a cart, you just go through the store and you grab all the things that you want to have, and then you go looking for a cart to put them in. If you have your arms full of groceries, it's not so easy to organize them in the cart because you've had to hold on to them for so long. Now, the question is, how do we make those compound subjects more readable? What we can do oftentimes is simply invert the sentences. Let us return to the Olivia Rodrigo example. Initially, we have these 6 songs, and then we say that they are top 10 hits by Olivia Rodrigo. This is our basket. This is our framework. This is our context. And the reader, now that they have it, has to go back and think of all the songs we just listed to categorize them. Let us invert the sentence so that we can see how it improves readability. Olivia Rodrigo has several top 10 hits, including. Now, this is our basket. This is the context. As the reader goes through and reads each of the songs that follow, they know how to organize them. We have driver's license, vampire, deja vu. The reader knows as they're going through the list now that each are examples of top 10 hits by Olivia Rodrigo. It's much easier to process the information. Even when there are only 2 or 3 subjects, readability can be complicated if they each have modifiers attached to them. But what exactly is a modifier? In short, modifiers are adjectives, prepositional phrases, and restrictive or relative elements that specify details about a noun. And you might notice here that I've done the exact thing that I'm saying we shouldn't do and front load the sentence with all the elements before we describe them. So we should probably reframe this sentence. We could instead say that modifiers specify details about a noun and can include adjectives, prepositional phrases, and restrictive and relative elements. So if you have multiple modifiers attached to your subjects, they can also create a barrier to readability. Let us take a look at an example using The Simpsons. We have a 40-year-old working class father, a 40-year-old stay-at-home mother, a 10-year-old son in grade 4, an 8-year-old daughter in grade 2, and an infant daughter, and they are the 5 members of the Simpsons household. Now, in this context, we have a 40-year-old and working class, both describing the father. Each of these are modifiers. Then we have 40-year-old stay-at-home mom, 2 more modifiers to describe the mother. We have 10-year-old son and in grade 4. The in is a preposition, so that's a prepositional phrase. The 8-year-old daughter in grade 2, also a prepositional phrase, and the infant daughter with the adjective. Now, having all of these restrictive elements attached to each of the subjects makes this sentence far more difficult to process. So we should again consider inverting the sentence. To improve readability, we might begin the sentence by saying, there are 5 members in the Simpsons household. Now we have this basket, which is the framework and the context for the list, and we can just jump into that list. The 40-year-old working class father, 40-year-old stay-at-home mother, etc., etc. Let us take a look at academic examples. Perhaps you're an engineering major, and you might say that temperature, humidity, speed, distance, and terrain are all determining factors with regards to the product's durability and effectiveness. But we have that big long list at the beginning. We don't want to do this. Let's invert the sentence. Several factors shape product durability and effectiveness. Boom, simple sentence, several factors. Now we have a colon, and here's the list. Temperature, humidity, speed, distance, and terrain. The reader has the framework, the basket with which to put all the ideas into, and then they have the ideas which they can clearly and easily organize after the fact. Perhaps you are a psychology major, so you might say sleeplessness, dizzy, loss of appetite, headaches, anxiety, and weight gain are side effects of many antidepressants, which doesn't make them terribly alluring, I can promise you that. But again, although this is a grammatically correct sentence, we're really front-loading the sentence with a lot of nouns, so we want to avoid this. Instead, we invert the sentence. The side effects of antidepressants may include or often include sleeplessness, dizziness, etc. Right? Again, we have our basket, the framework of the context with which to put all the nouns that follow, and then we have the list of things that that applies to. And as the reader goes through them, they can attach all of these to being a side effect of an antidepressant. Perhaps you are a social work major. You might note that cognitive behavioral therapy, trauma-informed therapy, and strength-based approaches can all empower clients with substance use disorder, right? This works grammatically, but again, we have a big long list of things. We typically are going to avoid that. Instead, we invert it and begin by saying several approaches can support clients with substance use disorder, including CBT, trauma-informed therapy, and strength-based approaches. With the framework and context put forward, it's easy for the reader to understand and process the information that follows. All right, let us do a brief summary. If you have 2 or 3 short compound subjects within a sentence, likely won't create a barrier to readability. However, if your subjects have a modifier, or especially if they have multiple modifiers, or alternately, if you have more than 3 subjects, you might consider how to introduce them as a list at the end of the sentence. In this way, you'll provide the reader with the framework and context with which to understand those items, and then introduce the items, making it far easier for the reader to comprehend and understand what you're trying to express. Hopefully that provides you with clarity on how you can enhance the readability in your writing. But should you have any questions, just leave them in the comments section below, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.